So there on the screen now is the confirmation that there was a man called Simon Day in Camilla and Charles's love life. This is a confession on the royal news, the royal scandal, Sunrise on the 7th. Yeah, all of the Freemasons are allowed to know it, and this one is ultra confident because he's the real bastard of Princess Diana, of Camilla and Prince Charles. Remember at round this time that they were stealing the Bank of International Settlements in Basel and naming it after the DALEK company that they had established in Basel. This is I Am, Charles and Camilla's son, first interview with Simon Durant Day to make it sound as if they're Argentinian, like the woman that was played by Madonna on the balcony in Argentina. And all of it then flits in nicely with the revelations that Jonathan Pierce is the new Pope's actor. Yeah, that is the papal, that's Simon Durant Day, the sad bastard. He's confident as you'll see. He used to be one of the residents on the Henderside fishing beat when I worked there. And they've now turned the Henderside fishing beat into a horse riding venue for 3-day events, so that they can explain why strangers like this one, who you'll see is ultra confident because he's the son of the next king. He fled to his native Australasia, and that is where Princess Diana followed him to, because she knew the story, and she said there are too many people in this marriage. That's Simon Day, the bastard of Charles and Camilla. Let's hear what his accent's like. Sorry, it's not, doesn't want to move. There's Camilla, looking ultra confident because the scam's already several years old, as you can see from the age of their baby.
I believe I am Charles and Camilla's son. I believe this has been a cover-up.
A royal luncher.
Yes.
Words to send shivers down the spines of the British royal family. Simon Durante Days.
So the son's just come out in support of the conspiracy theory being true. There's his family photos now. Yeah, and he had to have the whole of his face lifted so that he no longer, when he's an adult, looks anything like his father. I Am Charles and Camilla's son, first interview with Simon Durant Day and his proof on 7 News for the world's Freemasons that are able to make their fortunes by selling such secrets. And the sun's still out. Let's just listen to how the cocky bastards are prepared to try and steal the Bank of International Settlements at the same time to shut me the fuck up and to get me under the Mental Health Act.
I believe
he owns the Bank of International Settlements and all of its war loot with his partner Lord Jacob Rothschild and with their partner Arnie Schwarzenegger. I'll show you the photos of that triumvirate later. And these are the teams that killed Princess Diana. All of them children of Goldsmith, and that means that they're in Hitler's family tree. with Boris Johnson. We could find his photo now if you want to see the sensational news that got 6,000 views on my website in the first week of the publishing this story. All of them Aryan blondes. Yeah, those eyes are not the original colour, and his ears had to be seen to too, so that he becomes much more like Lady Diana's kids. Yeah, it's quite sordid that a woman of that rank can live with herself after she's committed a crime like that for the throne and its wealth, and she then gets pictured beside the Daleks in Switzerland outside the Bank of International Settlements, where all of the war loot is still theirs.
I believe this has been a cover-up.
A royal love charm?
Yes.
So you can hear the Australian accent. That is where he was sent. Yeah, and the royal family followed him. That is, Princess Diana went there, and her comment was, when she met them, they are the jet black kids in the Cook Strait meetings, and she said, there are too many people in my marriage. That's the victim of the murder. Lovely family. And have you seen the pictures of Schwarzenegger, who was a relative of the people that were in Hitler's bunker before they moved to America? And all of those videos are already published in Dundee on the Club of 100, the Club of 300, and the members of his family that are in that. All of them are in it as the world's warmongering leaders, yeah, since the war ended, with Schwarzenegger and the supermarket magnate that is pictured with them all in the Star Wars team. That is Arnie Schwarzenegger of Star Wars. Yeah, they really believe that they are come from outer space and destined to become the owners of the pyramids in Egypt and all of the mythology that keeps them safe and allows them to kill the political analysts, like that is the joke that they are all descended from King David in Jerusalem. And that is the first thing that Monty Pythons and Auf Wiedersehen say when they get to the border in France. Your wall is not plumb, and that is the walls of Jericho. All of it is a massive ancient joke, and these are the biggest killers in world history because they take us into every one of the world wars. I am Charles and Camilla's son. First interview with Simon Sorrent Day and his proof.
Words to send shivers down the spines of the British royal family. Simon Durante Day's 40-year search for his birth parents, leading him to the Prince of Wales.
Are you prepared to have a bet with me that either the councillors or the police will show up very soon? Everybody knows now whose side those councillors are on. They are Mini-Me's relatives out of Germania and the families that have stolen the world. And Mini-Me's got a descendant now. Like Prince Charles has several.
And Duchess of Cornwall. There's no mistake.
Well, it's possible. I mean, I've entered into all this with the possibility that I could be wrong. Yeah, I've thought about that, and how am I going to look in front of the world with egg all over my face that I'm wrong, but I don't think I am.
too many Aboriginal jet black people in this marriage. His children already.
This story begins in April 1966. England is in the grip of Beatlemania, and in this military hospital in Gosport,
where Hitler was trained in Liverpool, and the first female has won the Grand National this year. It's all the same folk right through world history, and Hitler is their cousin, as it was written on the front cover of the book that was written by the Queen. How to Take Over the World, a right royal con, and the author of that book has now been murdered and replaced by his profiteering rival, Moses Montefiore's team in Southampton.
Port in southern England, the Royal Hospital Haslar, a baby boy is born, and a mystery begins.
What age were you adopted out?
18 months, I'm told. I was adopted out.
So where were you for the first 18 months?
I don't know. There's not been any documentation or evidence come forward.
So the aristocrats are born in the place that I used to work. That is St Mary's in London. Yeah, right next to the station, which was the place where Arsenal Football Club was before they had to move it, because all of it is totally evil, and that is Arsene Wenger and the jokes about all of the Arsenals being descended from the Egyptian pharaohs, and King Herod and the rest of them, and King Herod and all of them that are on the listings are on the world owning bloodline tree for the monarchy.
Forward to state that. I don't even know if 18 months is true, because that's what I've been told, mainly through my adopted family.
Baby Simon was adopted by Karen and David Day, a well-known Portsmouth family. Karen worked as a hairdresser, David drove trucks. They had no royal connections, but others in the family did.
My mother's grandparent.
So that's right next door to the places where the royals were at the time, considering the murder of the man who introduced the Queen of England to her husband, that was Lord Mountbatten. He eventually was murdered in Ireland, and all of it is the covers by the richest family in the world on why and how they took us into those wars. Yeah, that's why Lord Mountbatten in Burke's peerage now is he's been replaced by a man called Prince Philip, who they don't have to worry about any longer. Prince Philip called himself, when he died, Lord Mountbatten in Burke's peerage, and I've got all the photos of it, and they cannot have them without murdering me too. Yeah, I used to fish on the beat below the house that he lived in at Henderside, led by the Fleming family, who more and more are likely to be Ian's relatives. And they worked in the surgery when they were trying to section me in that surgery as the Dukes of Buccleuch and Douglas, that is Dr. Ian fINGland's clan. I am Charles and Camilla's son. First interview with Simon Durant Day and his proof. Do you get the little bit of Argentinian legend?
Worked for the royal family. Nana was a cook, and Dana was a gardener. That's where they met.
Do you believe you were deliberately placed with that family because...
So that is exactly the same ploy in Portsmouth on the south coast of England as Peter Sellers playing the only true baby of Queen Victoria. Yeah, that was born in secret, and he was sired by the Hanoverian princes that were blind Prince George of Cumbria and Teviotdale. Sorry, it's only one person. She was the only person that was legitimately married to the royal family, and that is the secret marriage of blind Prince George of Hanover and Teviotdale, yeah, to the royal family in the form of Queen Victoria. All of the rest of them were Rothschild bastards, and that is what riles the world up and keeps it at war to this very day. That is the decimation of the aristocracy all over Europe by the Rothschild bastards. And the pictures are all over my website, and they're all over the pictures of the Hoyk characters that live in Teviotdale, like Prince George of Hanover. Yeah, and every one of them had concubines, so that if anything happened to those monarchs, they had at least 25 babies in each branch of the German tree. That is, the babies of George I, George II, George III, and George IV. And they are mainly in Newcastle, which is why it's called King Geordie Land. And those concubines take the form of Dorothea Jordan with her 25 babies, and all of the story is safely in my vaults and my safe locations. Yeah, that is Dorothea Jordan of Ford and Etal and her connections to Kelso and its library, and the making of the Jumanji film as a massive steal against Royal Dutch Shell, who are coercible because they are the parent of Princess Di's lovers. Babies. That is King Juan Carlos, who's had to defect. Right then, let's see if we can get the whole of it on one reel, as it were. Yeah, he's a fishing friend of the families I used to work with, who are employed by Butlins, and that is Bourne Leisure in Hemel Hempstead, and that is Bornemissa at number 7 on the Forbes rich list to this very day, Durant.
The royal connection.
I think that's a possibility, and it's a fair comment to make. It's in England they would say, yeah, that's what the royals do.
As he grew, Simon claims his grandparents dropped hints he was more than he believed, hints about his real parents, until near her death, when his grandmother Winifred dropped a bombshell.
Well, the last time I saw her before she passed was in the hospital in Portsmouth, and there was a newspaper on the bed.
So you get the Portsmouth, that is where Britain's navy sails from. That is the Duke of Wellington's hub, and that is why Kelso are short of legal people that can manage people's wills without massive clashes, and the oaths that they make have all been breached. Yeah, that is why I'm in Kelso at the moment trying to make my will, but they've explained that they believe that I need to be destined to be a mental health case, even although I've survived as a political activist since they booted me out of my hometown, using the wife that trained in David Cameron's drug running, yeah, and spying Chipping Norton set. Valerie Jane Lees of Hemel Hempstead. Yeah, and she could well be a doppelganger, because she spent most of her innocent life with me, and only when we moved to Kelso did the marital breaches happened, she committed all of them in front of the Kelso families, who are the mini-me descendants from Germany, and that is why the mansion houses in Kelso had to be knocked over and destroyed in the 1950s by the British Army. That's Elliot and the Duchess of Sutherland. Yeah, the biggest landowners in the region. And also in Hemel Hempstead. I did not know that until this year. So, let's hear what this guy has to say, because he's frank, and those are still Prince Charles's lugs.
Had a picture of Charles and Camilla on it, and I said to her, "Is it these two?" And I pointed to them, and she said, "Yeah."
But she confessed even more that day.
And she said, we were always worried that we couldn't protect you, that at some stage the truth would get out. So that's as close as I've got to anybody else saying that it is Charles and Camilla.
Camilla would have been 18 at the time, the Prince of Wales just 17. Prince Charles was in fact sent to Australia in 1966 to Timbertop in Victoria.
Camilla would have conceived me sometime in 1965 after a coming out ceremony, or coming out,
A debutante
ball. She then promptly disappears off the social scene.
Do you think you look like Camilla or Charles?
Yeah, I can certainly, the Shan features are there, Camilla's brother, mate.
And the agent for Rothschild at that time and today is Sean Coulter. He used to keep his helicopter at Henderside, just below the home of this man. Yet there's a little island at Henderside, and that is where he lived. And all the buildings have now been renovated, so they look nothing like they did when he lived there. Yeah, and that is the first policeman was born and raised in Henderside. That is the Peelers of London. The first 1,000 policemen in the world were launched in that place because of the name-alike opportunities that represents. And now all of it is just a show-jumping 3-day event venue. Yeah, since Simon Day went back to Australia, and his babies are the jet black Cook Strait babies. Right then.
Shan looks strongly like me.
Simon says his adopted mother refused to talk about his real mum, whether she was royal or not, and his search for the truth has been difficult.
I've still yet to see an original birth certificate. I have not seen any. All I've got is an adoption certificate.
Who does the British government say your biological mother is?
They say that there's a lady called Sandra Pender.
But Simon never found a shred of evidence.
So that is the same joke as the restaurant that has now been converted, the church that has now been converted to the Italian restaurant in Kelso High Street that is Horse Market. Yeah, and that is the Piso horse, is the icon for the evil families that have followed the man that wrote the Bible, and that is the biggest cause of death in world history. It's the cause of death in Argentina and Mrs. Thatcher, and I think you now understand why Durant has been popped into his fake bloodline identity. and the sun's still out. And remember, that son has watched it since he became their son.
This woman even existed. If you're right, do you want to be king?
At the moment, I'm still focusing on stage 1 of this, which is the DNA test. I see it's the only way that this will be resolved.
I think legally it's out of the question for any court in Britain to order DNA samples to be taken from any member of the royal family.
Because all of the sperm is Rothschild's. That's why it's illegal, and that's why Rothschild pick the police chiefs, and that's why they get to retire on 5.5 million pensions in the Alps next to the lakes where the movie was made about the family that was they were the families that were from the Austrian Navy, and that is Captain von Trapp. Austria is totally landlocked, and that is the sense of humour of the current Queen and her now dead partner.
On a legal basis, so it just won't happen.
And he chose Lord Mountbatten, yeah, and he killed Lord Mountbatten, and then he changed Prince Philip's name to Lord Mountbatten on Burke's peerage. It will be back to Lord Mountbatten now that Philip's dead. Yeah, all of it is the scams that they run, and the war loot is in the Bank of International Settlements, which is why they train each other to talk like Daleks, which is the name of the dozen or so corporates that they have named after the building that looks like a Dalek in Basel in Switzerland, and that is why they have chosen the doctors who are Basil Switzer in Kelso to be my assassins under the Mental Health Act.
Foreign correspondent for the London Sun, Frank Thorne, believes Simon's quest is over before it begins.
Simon's not the first person to claim to be an illegitimate member of the British royal family, and I'm sure he won't be the last.
Simon and his wife Elviana are determined to fight on. They've written to Prince Charles, but not received a reply yet. All he wants to do is find his real parents to end his 40-year search.
The truth. Is it or isn't it? If it's not, well, then I've got to move on and find out who it is. It's not.
So you saw there the secret that is his jet black children. Let me show you it again.
Search.
The truth. Is it or isn't it? If it's not, well, then I've got to move on and find out who it is. It's not the driving force for me. The driving force for me is my parents. I want to meet my parents, for obvious reasons.
Sorry, we didn't get the picture of the jet black parent.
On a legal basis, so it just won't happen.
Foreign correspondent for the London Sun, Frank Thorne, believes Simon's quest is over before it begins.
So that is run by the billionaire Rupert Murdoch, with all of his families, yeah, leading the selection of the police chiefs from Switzerland with the 5 million pensions. Every one of them has had to resign because the gods put the pressure on them, like they did in the Windrush days. Windrush was the scandal that all of them live in Chipping Norton. Yeah, every one of the Windrush characters, yeah, had an address with Chipping Norton in the postcode. And that is the gods making Enoch Powell's stammering speeches, and that is what happened to the Butlins people that committed suicide on the Henderside beat when I was working there. At least That's their story. Let me see if we can find the black parents of the too many children in the marriage that was noticed by Princess Diana when she visited Australia.
I was not the first person to claim to be an illegitimate member of the British royal family, and I'm sure he won't be the last.
Simon and his wife Elviana are determined to fight on. They've written to Prince...
So she's a coloured lady. That is Aboriginal descent. And Princess Diana is too clever a person not to notice that. Too many people in this marriage.
Prince Charles, but not received a reply yet. All he wants to do is find his real parents to end his 40-year search.
The truth. Is it or isn't it? If it's not, well, then I've got to move on and find out who it is. It's not the driving force for me. The driving force for me is my parents. I want to meet my parents.
And I don't know if he knows Greg Hallett's secrets about his eye coloration and it all having to be aligned, even although the pain had to be borne by him, with Prince Charles's traits as a massively cheating and killing murderer of several of his family already. Yeah, and that's why they commission the other members of the family, and that is King George that is the Orcafat actor, and then he becomes a detective on the TV when they're looking for Maddie in Spain, and that is the true King of England's residence, by the way, in Spain after they're out of the south coast in Portsmouth. And it's the same in being there with Peter Sellers being the true King of England. Yeah, and on it goes, regime after regime, and each time they change the rules, they have to change the laws of succession. And the only man that does not get threatened is Lord Jacob Rothschild, Arnie Schwarzenegger, and their friends in the German bunker when Hitler was fleeing from it, using the Rothschild yellow submarines and the Beatles family, who trained as Nazis like everybody else in Liverpool.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah, there's it.
We need homes for people.
So that's why everything is so expensive in my new safe house. Yeah, because my wife is still divorced from me as the agent that got that deal done, using Sheriff Peter Patterson, who at that time had a 29 million debt pool, and all of them are able to get away with that, like the faking up of all of the monarchs by the Rothschilds. Every one of the monarchs and their bloodline are Rothschild bastards. Right then, let's stop there. And that movie was made, oh no, it's the adverts after them, so we'd better not mention it, otherwise it will get copyright, as if no one's aware of that already. Simon Day, a legend since Greg Hallett was murdered by the same team. Bye bye.